In this lesson, we're going to talk about estimating the product, and we're going to take the area model that we did with one-digit multiplication times 2, 3, or 4-digit multiplication to the next step. So let's go ahead and take a look at estimating the product first. Here we see a problem 19 times 43, and we want to estimate the product. We don't want to find the actual product yet, but we want to find an estimate so that we know if our actual answer is close to where it should be. So we need to remember our rules for rounding in terms of estimation. So our rule for rounding is we're going to look at our greatest place value. So in this terms, all of our numbers are going to be in the tens place. So we're going to look at our tens place, and then we look at its neighbor. And if its neighbor is 5 or more, we add one more. If it's 4 or less, we just ignore. So we're going to look at each of our neighbors. 9 is 5 or more, so we're going to add one more to our tens place. 19 is going to be closer to 20 than it is to 10. So we're going to round 19 to 20. Then we're going to put our multiplication sign here. Now 43, we want to think, is this closer to 40 or is it closer to 50? We use our little rhyme to help us remember. 4 or less, just ignore. Its neighbor is a 3, so we're going to ignore that neighbor. It's going to turn to a 0. This tells me that 43 is closer to 40 than 50, so we're going to be multiplying times 40. Then all we do is multiply like we did in the last lesson. We're going to cross those two zeros out, put them down where our product would be, and when we multiply 2 times 4, we get 8. So our product in terms of our estimation, we did not find the actual product, but we found our estimate. So our estimate for 19 times 43 is 800. Estimating the product. Let's estimate another one. We want to know, is 26 closer to 30 or 20? Its neighbor is a 6, that's 5 or greater, so we would round up to 30. Times, is 82 closer to 80 or 90? Its neighbor is a 2, so we would just ignore that and round this to 80. Now we're going to go ahead and multiply. We're going to cross those two zeros out, place them down below. 8 times 3, or 3 times 8, is 24. So our estimate is 2,400. Go ahead and estimate this product. I want you to round those two numbers and then multiply them together. If we round these two numbers, 32 would round to 30. The 2 is 4 or less, so we just ignore it. And 25 would round up to 30 because 25 is closer to 30 than it is to 20. Then all we have to do is multiply. So we're going to cross those two zeros out. We're going to place those two zeros down below. And 3 times 3 is 9. So our estimate for 32 times 25 would be 900. Here's our next one. Go ahead and estimate the product. 72 times 68. Round and multiply. If we rounded 72, 72 would round to 70. 72 is closer to 70 than 80. Times 68 would round up to 70. 68 is closer to 70 than 60. Our 8 would make us add one more. Our 2 here would make us ignore. Now all we have to do is multiply. I'm going to cross those two zeros out, place them down below. Basic fact, 7 times 7 is 49. So our estimate would be 4,900. Okay, our next step in this lesson is to use the area model to multiply. Now here we have a 2-digit number times a 2-digit number. There are some steps right next to us to help us with this. So we're going to follow those steps. Our first step says draw a rectangle, so that's what we're going to do. Our second step, we're going to expand both numbers. 12 in expanded form would be 10 plus 2. And 37 in expanded form would be 30 plus 7. We're going to need to know what these are in expanded form so that we can separate our rectangle. So our next step says split our rectangle down and across. So we've been used to splitting it this way, and we would put 37 here. But because our other number also has two place values, we have our ones place and our tens place, we need to split our rectangle across as well, or horizontally. Now I'm going to expand my 12 on this side, 10 and 2. So I've expanded 37 and I've expanded 12. Now, my next piece is to label my rectangle, which I did, and now I need to find my partial products. I'm going to write down the multiplication problem I need to solve for each piece of my rectangle. this side right here is 10, and across is 30. So I need to multiply 10 times 30 in this piece of my rectangle. This side right here is 10, and across here is 7. So 10 times 7 is going to be this part of that rectangle. If I go to my next piece, now I'm looking at 2 times across, which is 30. And this next piece is 2 again, times horizontally, this is 7. So I have 10 times 30, 10 times 7, 2 times 30, and 2 times 7. I need to multiply each part by each other. And then I need to multiply to find my partial product. So I'm going to cross out my 2 zeros, place them down below. 1 times 3 is 3. I'm going to go next door, so I'm going to cross that 0 out, place it down below. 1 times 7 is 7. I'm going to go down, cross this 0 out, place it down below. 2 times 3 is 6, and then 2 times 7 is 14. So now I've drawn my rectangle, expanded my numbers, split my rectangle, labeled my rectangle. I've found my partial products. My last step is to add my partial products. So that's what I'm going to do. Because I have 4 numbers here, I'm not going to add them all up at once. I'm going to add 2 pieces at a time. So I'm going to add down. 300 plus 60 is 360. 70 plus 14 is 84. And now I'm going to go ahead and add these 2 pieces together to get my final product of 444. Okay, this is our area model. We now have to split it into 4 pieces, 1 across, 1 down below, gives me my 4 sections of my rectangle. Let's go ahead and look at another one. The steps again are on our side. So our first step is going to be to draw our rectangle. We need to expand our number, 43 and 62. If I expanded 43, that would be 40 plus 3. And 62 would be 60 plus 2. This is going to help me out when I'm labeling my rectangle pieces. Now I'm going to split my rectangle across and down. And I'm going to label each section. So here I have 62, and then I have 43. Okay, now I need to multiply to find my partial product. So I'm going to go ahead and label my rectangle so I know what I'm multiplying. I have 40 on this side, and then I have 60 across. Then I have 40 down here, and 2 across. Then I go to my next section and I have 3 and 60 across. And then over here I have 3 again and 2 across. And I'm going to multiply each of those pieces to find my partial products. That's my second to last step. Cross my 2 zeros out, place them down below. 4 times 6 is 24, so I have 2,400 there. Cross the 0 out, place it down below. 4 times 2 is 8. Cross that 0 out, place it down below. 3 times 6 is 18, and 3 times 2 is 6. Now all I have to do, I've followed all of my steps except for the last one, which is add to find my partial products. So I'm going to add down. I get 2,580 on this side. And then I'm going to add this side of 86. When I add these 2 pieces, I get 2,666 as my final product. Okay? I want you to go ahead and try this next one using the area model. Here are your steps off to the side. We have 84 times 52. Find all 4 of your partial products and then add them together. Okay, so I followed most of my steps here for my area model. Make sure yours looks similar to mine. I'm going to go ahead and multiply to find my partial products. I'm going to cross my 2 zeros out, place them down below. 8 times 5 is 40. Cross the 0 out, place it down below. 8 times 2 is 16. Cross that 0 out. 5 times 4 is 20. And then I have 8. And now I'm going to add down. So I have 4,200 on this side. And 186 on this side, or 68, excuse me, on this side. When I add my 2 pieces together, I get 4,368 as my final product. So make sure all of your partial products are the same as mine and you've added them up and you have the same product. Let's take a look at another problem. For this problem, we're going to estimate and then we're going to use the area model. So first thing I want you to do is go ahead and find an estimate. If we were to estimate this product, we would round 61 to 60. We would round 58 to 60. And then we would multiply 60 times 60. 61 is closer to 60 than 70, and 58 is closer to 60 than 50. When I multiply these two pieces, 6 times 6 is 36, and I have two zeros. So my estimate is 3,600. This is going to help me when I'm doing my area model and I get a product. If my product is not close to 3,600, then I probably did something wrong. So now go ahead and do your area model, find your 4 partial products and add them up. Here's my rectangle split into its pieces. Now all I have to do is multiply to find my partial products. I place those two zeros. 6 times 5 is 30. It's 3,000. 1 times 50 is 50. Cross that 0 out, place it down here. 8 times 6 is 48. And 1 times 8 is 8. Now I'm going to go ahead and add to find my partial products. 3,050. And when I add these two pieces, I get 488. Now I just need to add those pieces together to find my final product. And I get a final product of 3,538. If I look at my estimate and I look at my final product, they are very close, which means, okay, I most likely did what I needed to do. I got an actual product that was very close to my estimate. Go ahead and solve this next problem. I want you to estimate and use your area model. So find your estimate first. Your estimate for this problem, we should have rounded 23 to 20, and we should have rounded 57 up to 60. So when we multiply 20 times 60, we get 1,200 as our estimate. Now go ahead and do your area model and find your 4 partial products and then add. Okay, here I have my rectangle already ready to go. Now I just need to multiply to find my partial products. Cross out those two zeros. 2 times 5 is 10. 1,000 there. Cross out this 0, bring it down. 3 times 5 is 15. Cross that 0 out. 2 times 7 is 14. And 3 times 7 is 21. When I add down, I get 1,150. And when I add down, I get 161. Now when I add these two pieces, I'm going to get 1,311, which is very close to my estimate of 1,200. So I can have pretty good confidence that I multiplied correctly. Okay, let's take a look at the next problem. Again, I want you to estimate and find your area model. Go ahead and estimate first. If we estimate this, our 45 would round up to 50. It's closer to 50 than it is to 40, and 71 would round down to 70. Oops. Now I'm just going to multiply these two pieces, cross out those two zeros, bring them down, and I get 3,500 as my estimate. Now I'm going to multiply and find my actual product using the area model. Go ahead and multiply, find your product using the area model. Okay, you should be at this step and have answered this. We're going to solve for our partial products. And we get 2,800, we get 350, and 40 here, and 5 there. Now we're going to go ahead and add our pieces together. And then we need to add our partial products together one last time. And we get our final product of 3,195. Now you might be a little concerned and say, whoa, that's almost 300, a little more than 300 away from my estimate. But that's okay. Think about how you estimated. We took 45 and we rounded it all the way up to 50. So that's a pretty big leap that we rounded that number. It's okay if there's a little bit of deviation of difference between your estimate and your actual product. We're just looking for it to be within 1,000 of the same. If it's more than 1,000, then you most likely did something wrong. Okay, let's take a look at our next problem. The average cost to run a refrigerator is $57 per year. About how much would it cost to run this refrigerator for 15 years? I want you to pay close attention to this word about. About generally means that we need to estimate. So go ahead and find about how much would it cost to run the refrigerator for 15 years. Your estimates could vary depending on how you estimated, what you rounded to. We're going to go ahead and we're going to round $57 up to $60, and we're going to round 15 up to 20. If we did 60 times 20, we would cross our two zeros out, place them down below. 6 times 2 is 12. Our estimate could be $1,200 to run this refrigerator. Okay, let's take a look at our last problem for the day. Here's another word problem. 23 students each brought in 24 pencils to start the school year. How many pencils were brought in to start the school year? Were brought in all. Okay, go ahead and solve this problem using the area model. Your area model should look something like this. When we cross those zeros out, we get 400 as that partial product, 60 as that partial product, 80 there, and then 12. When we add, we get 460 plus 92. When we add that together, we get 552. That's how many pencils were brought into school in all. Okay, that's our lesson for today. Please make sure you wrote down all those steps for your area model with a 2-digit number times a 2-digit number. See you tomorrow.